Eric Harsky.
Hi, my name is Eric Harsky. I've been a member of the Nixa community for 25 years, since 1997, Nixa graduating class of 2001. My wife, Corinne, recently participated in the local election. She didn't win, but both her and the incumbent ran excellent campaigns, and it's my understanding that the incumbent is an excellent representative. I want to thank the incumbent for hanging out with Corinne at the junior high on Election Day, and congratulations on the victory. I'm here today, however, to inform the council of a serious issue pertaining to an inappropriate social media post made by an elected official. This post was made a day before the election. With elective office comes an elevated public platform. The official used their elevated platform to conduct reckless and dangerous behavior. The most egregious violation that I want to inform the council of is that this official explicitly posted the home addresses of the candidates that were being publicly smeared in the post. The platform could have easily been used to issue a positive, supportive message about the candidates the official liked. Instead, the elevated platform was used to post an extremely negative, highly inflammatory, divisive message against the candidates not liked. Given the elevated public platform, coupled with the nasty nature of the content and the explicit listing of home addresses, the official created what I would articulate as a political hit list. I asked the council today a couple of questions. Number one, how is this okay? Number two, is this the expected professional behavior of someone who holds elective office in our city? And number three, and a fair question, is this behavior in violation of the moral code of conduct accepted by those who take the oath of office, specifically the moral turpitude clause? Moral turpitude refers to an act or behavior that gravely violates the sentiment or accepted standard of the community. Creating a political hit list is 100% an ethical and moral failure, in my opinion. It gets worse, folks. A concerned citizen pointed out to this official that if people were to show up to the official's house or the homes of the candidates whose addresses were posted, this would be a major law enforcement situation. To which the official replied, and I quote, "I have a very impressive security system at my house." This unprofessional and childish dialogue demonstrated a complete inability to comprehend the seriousness of this behavior. There was no consideration for those not afforded the luxury of a security system of which this official brags. Furthermore, if a situation were to occur, I think the city would now be liable for injuries or damages. There's only two conclusions to come to when analyzing this, and I'm not sure which is worse. Either the official lacks the intellectual capacity, the wherewithal, the common sense to know that they should have redacted those addresses without having to be told, or they knew they should not include the addresses but did so anyway. So I'm asking the question, which is worse, not knowing or doing so anyway? If it's not knowing, I'd argue the official does not possess the critical thinking skills necessary to be an effective leader and effective decision maker for the city of Nixa. To me, it would clearly indicate they lack the intellectual talent required. Now, if it's the latter, doing so anyway, this would indicate malicious intent and still point to insufficient decision-making skills. The post not only inaccurately smeared candidates right before an election, but also deprived them the ability to defend themselves on the same public platform, as the candidates were prohibited from replying. This behavior embarrassed and humiliated the entire city of Nixa as well, because it was public to everyone. Those from other communities were astonished by the low-quality post and were embarrassed for our city. I need to point out that certain chosen ones were afforded the ability to partake in this highly public discourse. One of the chosen is a current council member. The comment from this member was to suggest that the political hit list was missing a name. The council member literally suggested an additional name to be added. Extremely unprofessional, embarrassing behavior, in my opinion. The post seemed to be a poor attempt at settling a political score. One issue was a $16,000 election recall. To add perspective, the city budgets $25,000, that's $9,000 more, for Christmas lights. Not only is it less expensive, but it's a more important function of government to allow citizens an avenue of accountability for elected officials than to decorate the city. And I would be surprised to know if the council disagrees with that. Furthermore, the liability for injuries or damages resulting from the creation of a political hit list could be astronomical. In conclusion, I hope the council considers addressing my questions. And finally, but I'm sure you know, this post was made by the mayor, Mr. Brian Steele. Thank you for your time. I can stick around for questions. I have a packet with supporting material if anybody wants it, and this speech.
Hi, my name is Ron Sanders. I've been in front of the city council countless times saying that exact same thing because up until recently it was required. Up until this moment, my address is public on that post. Now, it is required to file publicly with the Missouri Ethics Commission if you're involved in politics, which means everybody's name's out there. And not only that, there are the white pages. There's everybody's profiles. You can spend $10 and get a subscription to search anybody's name and address and find out what age they are, what birthday they have. So everything's public. But in our society, it's essential that we use our common sense and we use a little bit of restraint whenever it comes to having that information. And although right now I don't think that the city of Nixa has any citizens that are really going to come to my house and start any stuff, I do think that highly of our citizens. Putting people's names out there to intimidate them, to cause a stir. The first thing that you would expect a wife to say, to the husband is, why would you let that happen? I'm glad my wife didn't see it that way. I'm glad that a lot of other people didn't see it that way either. And they're focusing the issue at the person that caused all of this. And about the recall. The recall happened a while ago, I think 6 months ago or something like that. It's over. We've paid for it. You won, Mr. Mayor. Okay, you won a recall. You can't be recalled again. Heck, you could do all of this stuff, and there's not very much that the city council or anybody could do to you. So right now, no matter how bad this situation is, you're beyond reproach. And if anybody questions me or my intentions in this city, I just want to say this. There is a sitting city council member where I've had well over 25 people come to me and say, how do we recall this individual? Maybe my count's too low. I don't know. There are a lot of people that have asked, okay? And I've had to tell them that the city council member hasn't done anything to be recalled for. That's why there hasn't been a petition. That's why there hasn't been people coming in here asking how to do it. Because I honor what I said a while back before the recall and everything else, is that I'm not going to let it get out of hand, and I'm not going to let people go crazy recalling this and recalling that. I've held up to my end of being civil, and whenever I spoke those words here publicly, I meant them. Now, the rest of y'all here on the city council, y'all have an issue to take a look at. Because what's coming behind me is a bunch of very angry people and who were directly affected. But think about the thousands or even the hundreds of other people who are negatively affected, who will never come to this podium because of that action, who will never ever want to speak publicly or interact with this city council because they know that they have somebody in this government that will just take their names and publish it. And it gets worse. I've had people tell me that they have been contacted and questioned about why they signed the recall petition. You want to talk about classless and baseless? Getting that public knowledge and then reaching out to them to ask them why they did that is horrible. And it's just going to send a message to everybody in this city. If you do what Ron Sanders did, you're going to feel the wrath of the power that people have. I ain't worried about it. I got thick skin. Okay, everybody knows where my house is, and ain't nobody come there yet. And if they do come, we'll have a cold beverage or a hot beverage, and we'll talk, either out front or in the back around the fire. Okay? Because I think that's what kind of city we live in. Thank you.
My name is Sandy Carnes. I'm a resident of Nixa, Missouri. I do not need to provide my street address as Brian Still chose to dox some of the citizens of Nixa, and that included me. I do not follow Brian Still, nor are we friends on Facebook. So when I was told that I and other Nixa residents had been doxed, I wanted to understand what that meant. I have learned a new word this week. Here's the definition. To publicly identify or publish private information about someone, especially as a form of punishment or revenge. Personal information about a person, for example, their real name, home address, phone number that has been released on the web, usually used to harass or shame the person. To search for and publish or identify information about a particular individual on the internet, typically with malicious intent. The link Brian Still provided on his post is public information from the Missouri Ethics Commission website. It is to look at candidates and committee information to find who has given financial support. The problem is how the link was used, the intent. The very big problem I see is that Brian Still maliciously placed the link on his personal Facebook page so that his friends of Nixa would see who contributed to a Republican PAC that was put together by a Nixa resident he has a personal vendetta against. We have a phrase in our home, perception is reality. As a wife, mother, female, and citizen of Nixa, Missouri, my perception is Brian Still intentionally did what was described above. It was a malicious intent to harass me and others, to punish and to pursue revenge. Brian Still, you have stated that your personal home address was revealed during your mayoral recall. You stated that the action was unacceptable. You revealed you had to purchase a high-tech security system. Now, what should we do? Do we need to purchase a high-tech security system because you purposely revealed our addresses? Aren't your actions unacceptable as well? I hope the Nixa businesses that were doxxed are not hurt by a mayor who's supposed to be supporting the businesses of Nixa, not promoting cancel culture. The Nixa City Employee Handbook talks about being a steward of public trust, enhanced quality of life, serving with honesty and integrity, and committed to working together with our neighbors to maintain a friendly, small town atmosphere. I assume you read and agreed to everything written in the Employee Handbook. Do you believe you are meeting these standards? I remind you that you are called to be a servant of public trust. You say that's not acceptable, and then you do it yourself. I say watch what people do, not what they say. Your actions are showing you believe you are above the citizens of Nixa and the employees of the city. Let me finish with, I will not be shamed for getting behind candidates I believe in. I will not be shamed or bullied for standing up for my rights and beliefs as a citizen of the United States or as a resident of Nixa. Ephesians 4:32, forgive each other just as God forgave you. Brian Still, I forgive you for publishing my address and putting my family in danger.
Hi, my name's Bridget Bittinger. Each and every one of you are elected officials to one of the key pillars of this community. Some of you are elected by a segment of households, one of you by all Nixa households, but regardless, each and every one of you should consider yourself an advocate for all Nixa residents, not just a favored minority group or insider club, but all Nixa residents. Now I stand before you, elected to office in another pillar of this community. This despite the disappointing and unbecoming actions of two of you sitting before me who made every attempt to derail my campaign. I have been a Nixa resident and taxpayer for 8 years. In that time, my household has poured tens of thousands of dollars into the Nixa community in one way or another. I have volunteered in this community. I have 2 young daughters who are growing up in this community and in our school system. We are doing life in Nixa. That said, instead of reaching out to me, asking to have dialogue on important issues which we may disagree, your platforms were used to launch a smear campaign. Derogatory labels were inferred about me, factually incorrect statements were made, and my address was even made public, even with the knowledge of my 2 young daughters. The hypocrisy of it all is that it goes against the very claim that you as a group are trying to make, that you want to support diverse perspectives and ideas, that you want to ensure Nixa is all-inclusive. Yet in reality, the actions displayed the past few months conveyed the opposite to those watching. If you are honest, your focus is on immutable characteristics, not diverse thought. The support is only for candidates who are already in the good old boys club, not those you labeled outsiders. Don't get me wrong, as individuals, you have every right to support candidates of your choosing, but as elected officials, it is extremely unethical to use your platform to disparage those with which you disagree. Partiality to those which you have never met personally, particularly those which you have never met personally. When I launched my campaign, I provided 3 different ways to contact me. Only one member sitting before me reached out. Thank you, Jared. The 2 that chose to attack me from behind a screen did not reach out to discuss any issue or question that they had. Your actions lacked moral turpitude, leadership, and self-discipline. Well, let me assure everybody in this room, in my role as a Nixa school board member, I will be serving each and every student, teacher, parent, and taxpayer. And if an issue does arise, I will have the courage and fortitude to reach out to you directly. Why? Because you deserve better than what I was afforded, and I will hold myself to a higher standard. I am not going to live in fear that my address was posted, for I serve a God who protects me. Beyond my 4 members of my household, I also have Smith, Wesson, Glock, Remington, Beretta, and probably something else. Thank you.
No one else? We will close the visitor section. Yeah, somebody commented about our education system. I did not know what the definition of doxed was. I saw that on someplace, but I was unaware of that word. But as Ms. Kearns had said, it's the showing of private information. The post, I think, that everyone's commenting about was a picture of a document that Mr. Sanders had filed with the MEC, as you're saying, which is to show, which several of you have said, is to show who supported individual candidates. And that was all I was calling out in that post, as I had messaged Corinne and Bridget and Mr. Miller as well, that it was not personally intended towards them. It was intended towards Mr. Sanders' group. So Mr. Sanders continues to insult me, to insult this council, to call us liars, call us criminals, and I think calling out people, right? Get your time to speak, I get my time to speak.
No, you're lying. I have not said anything, a lie about you since the recall. I haven't even spoken about you. But you're going to sit up there and try to disparage me while I'm sitting here? No. Anybody can go and see all of my posts and know that all I did was find a few candidates and help them run. And I never said anything bad about you or any of the other candidates. And then you're going to sit up there and say that while I'm sitting here? No, sir. No.
As you even said after the recall, so you definitely lied before the recall. You also had multiple posts where you were disparaging, and they're not necessarily under your name. They're under pages that you represent, and that was one of the other things that I was disturbed about. Is you have a page called Republicans of Christian County, and you call your PAC Republicans of Christian County, as if every other member in that election wasn't also a Republican, but it was just a non-partisan election. So you're trying to twist people's words, as you continue to do, twist people's ideas and try to confuse people in a way to get them to do the things you think they should do, instead of just being honest about it. And that's what I was trying to do, is I was trying to let everyone know, and actually not everyone know, that was my private page. What you saw was screenshots that were posted in a group that I don't have access to, that I am not allowed to see, that I'm not allowed to comment on. And so you saw posts that friends of mine, who maybe are also friends of yours, had posted and taken from my private page. So I didn't use any of my public pages for that purpose. I just put it on my private page, wanted my friends to know that information regarding candidates that Mr. Sanders was supporting and the things that he had done. And I thought that was quite a quite a fine thing to do. That it was public information that was out there. As soon as someone commented, as soon as one of the candidates asked about the addresses, most of them were said unknown to begin with, and I don't believe that the Carnes' address was even on the post that I had. I think it was just, it did have Mr. Sanders' address on it, and then it had, everyone else's was redacted out, so. But again,
After the fact.
within a couple of minutes. So as we, I gave everyone an opportunity to speak. It's now my opportunity to speak. Mr. Belcher asked about the Main Street poles. We are going to get those poles as soon as the highway widening is completed. We have the money budgeted for that, so we're excited to get that going. Why he wasn't on the list is because he wasn't one of the members that was on Mr. Sanders, that was backed up by Mr. Sanders' PAC. And so the only thing I was doing was listing Mr. Sanders' PAC and commenting that these were the people that were supported by that PAC. I think all of them had commented back to me and said, we didn't receive any money, we just received these flyers. And so I posted that also as an edit to the comment saying that they didn't receive money, they just received the flyers. So again, Mr. Sanders and I have a political disagreement. And so he posts often about me, and I'm sure he will be in the future. To be totally honest, Mr. Carnes is also the treasurer for my opponent in the 139th. So he definitely has a specific point of view on these issues. So again, I did not mean any harm to you or any of your families. As soon as I realized your addresses were on there, redacted that information off of there, even though it was public information to begin with. But
The link is still there, though, so can you please remove the link,
the link,
because it's still there.
is it on my page?
Yes, it is. So please remove it, because
Sure.
our family's still in danger.
Sure, I will be happy to take the link off of there.
Did you not raise hell last year when your public name and address was made public?
My name and address are very
They had
public.
no regard when you made that post. It's
Yeah,
pretty-
no, I definitely understand. My life was threatened, my daughter's life was threatened by people associated to the recall, and so I understand more than anyone else what that means, and so I'm very question about that.
You did it anyway.
You did it anyway.
Okay.
That's our point.
Sorry. Excuse me, if you could, from the audience, there's people online that can't hear your comments, so if we could keep the comments down from the audience and.
As I said, it wasn't anything personal to the candidates. I was just trying to show candidates that Mr. Sanders' PAC was supporting, and it was a comment against that, and that's pretty much all I got to say about that. All right, we'll move on.